الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. أما بعد، أيها المشاهدون الأعزاء، أولياء الأمور الأكارم، أصدقائي الطلبة والطالبات، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today we will start teaching you the second lesson of unit number 3, which is It's Show Time. And before starting the lesson, I would like to state the objectives of today's lesson, and then at the end of the class we will test if we have already absorbed the objectives or not, if we have already achieved the objectives or not. And the objectives of today's lesson are: by the end of today's lesson, students will be able to differentiate between skimming and scanning. Okay, the word differentiate came from different. Okay, so people or students will be able to differentiate between skimming and scanning, which are reading skills, skimming and scanning. And number 2, students will be able to read for specific and general information. Okay, you will be able to practice skimming and practice scanning as well. So let's start our today's lesson. First of all, what is the difference between skimming and scanning? Who can tell me what is the difference between skimming and scanning? Okay, yes, you can read from the picture. Skimming, quickly gain an overview or familiarize yourself with the text. Okay, the word overview, or to gain an overview, a general overview about the text. You familiarize yourself with the generally with the text. Okay, you don't go in depth with the text in the text information. Okay, so this is about skimming. Okay, you read quickly, you gain the most important information. Okay, you familiarize yourself with the text in general. Okay, so you don't dig in depth in the text. So this is skimming. And scanning is searching for particular information. So in scanning, we search for specific information, we search for particular information, we dig in depth, we read everything, we read all the details in the text. Okay, so we're checking to see whether a text is relevant. Okay, so there is a difference between skimming and scanning. In scanning, we only gain an overview, we gain a general information about the text. We don't dig in depth. But in scanning, we read for every detail. Okay, we read in details to get the specific, or to search for specific or particular information from the text. So okay, this is the difference between them in the definition. Okay, I think that you have a general idea about the difference now between the two things, the skimming and the scanning. Skimming for general information, scanning for particular information, for details. Okay, now we will have an activity, and in this lesson we will only do this activity. And in this activity we will practice the two skills of reading, which is the skimming and the scanning. In the first two questions, I think that we need skimming skill, and in the rest questions we will need the scanning skill to figure out or to find out the answer. Here is the activity. Read and answer. Read the texts in activity 1 on pages 24 and 25 of the class book, and answer the following questions with short answers below. As I told you, in the previous class we did a listening activity, and before listening to the script, we first of all read the questions. so that we got a general outline about the script, so that when we then listened to the script, everything was easy. We answered the questions correctly and easily. In today's activity, we will do the same. In the reading, you will need to read the questions first, and then we will go to find out the answers in the text. Number 1. Which two paragraphs are short biographies or biographies? Which two paragraphs are short biographies? The first word in every question is the most important word. Which two paragraphs? So we have options, and he is asking about one of the options. So we have 4 texts, as it has been said in the instructions. Okay, we have 4 texts, and from these 4 texts, or from these 4 paragraphs, we will choose two paragraphs which are short biographies. Who can tell me what is the meaning of the word biography? We have already studied this word in the last semester. There is a difference between biography and autobiography. Biography. Okay. The autobiography, when a person writes about himself, when a person writes about his life, his own life. But when I write about someone else's life, we call it, yes, excellent, we call it a biography. So we will choose from the 4 options 2 biographies. Okay, this is number 1. Number 2, which paragraph? It is the same. He is asking about to choose one of the paragraph. Here he is asking us to choose 2 paragraphs, and in question number 2 he is asking us to choose 1 paragraph. Which paragraph describes how to make things? How to make things. Number 2. Number 3, name the play Tawfiq al-Hakim wrote about an insect. Okay, name the play Tawfiq al-Hakim wrote about an insect. Now we have read 3 questions. I haven't read the paragraphs yet, or we haven't read the paragraphs yet. But we notice that there will be 4 paragraphs. 2 of them are going to be biographies from the question. All this information, I got all this information from the question. There are going to be 2 biographies. There are going to be a paragraph which describes how to make something. And also there are going to be a paragraph in which they will talk about Tawfiq al-Hakim and his play, okay, ومسرحيته, the play that he wrote about the insect. All these pieces of information got from the questions. I haven't started reading the text yet, the texts or the paragraphs yet. Number 4, why is the puppet, okay, here name means you have to give the name. Number 4, why, which means لماذا, why is the puppet held behind the screen in wayang kulit? Okay, so they are going to talk about the puppets, and these puppets are held behind the screen. Why? We don't know. We will find the reason in the paragraph after reading. How old was Charlie Chaplin? How old means كم العمر. How old was Charlie Chaplin when he earned $10,000? Okay, so also they are going to talk about the puppets. Okay, they are going to talk about the puppets. They are going to talk about Charlie Chaplin and the year in which he got or he earned $10,000. Okay, all this information gained from the question. And the last one, how are stories in Chinese opera told? How are stories in Chinese opera told? So they are going to talk about the Chinese opera and how this Chinese opera told, or how are these stories in Chinese opera told. Okay, so we read the questions, we are ready to fly. Okay, so the first one, which 2 paragraphs are short biographies? I would like to ask you a question here. In this question, do we need a skimming skill or a scanning skill? Do we need to skim the text or the paragraphs, or scan them? Do we need to skim? Means to go over, to go in general in the text or in the paragraphs, or do we need to dig in depth? Here they are asking us about the paragraphs. We need to only to choose the answers, to choose which two paragraphs are biographies. Let's go and read the first one. We will only read the first sentence, and then we will realize whether this paragraph is a biography or not. Chinese opera is centuries old. Okay, so here they are talking about Chinese opera. Chinese opera is centuries old and brings together lots of different things into one performance. Okay, it tells a story through dialogue, music, mime, song, dance, whatsoever. In this paragraph, from the first sentence, they are talking about Chinese opera. They're not talking about a person. So is it a biography? No, it's not a biography. Go on to the second one. An early history of film would be incomplete without mentioning Charlie Chaplin. And here we find that Charlie starts with a capital letter, so it is a proper name, and Chaplin as well. Charlie Chaplin, born in London in 1889. Charlie Chaplin had a hard childhood growing up in a very poor family. Does it ring a bell? Yes, this is a biography. They are talking about someone else's life. The writer of this paragraph is talking about Charlie Chaplin. So this second paragraph is a biography. Let's go here and write number 2, paragraph number 2. So paragraph number 2 is a biography. Okay. Let's read the third paragraph. Wayang Kulit is a play told with the use of shadow puppets in Indonesia. The puppets are made from kulit, or the skin of animals, of an animal. Okay, they are talking about the puppets and how are they made, or how they are made. Are they talking about a person? No. Is it a biography? No. So move on. Tawfiq al-Hakim, number 4. Tawfiq al-Hakim is thought to be one of the best 20th century Arab playwrights. And from the first sentence, they are talking about Tawfiq al-Hakim. He was born in whatsoever. So the writer of this fourth paragraph is talking or is writing about someone else's life. He is talking about Tawfiq al-Hakim's life. So number 4 is a biography. So number 2 and number 4 are the answers. Okay. Number 2, question number 2. Which paragraph describes how to make something? While reading, we got to know that the first one is talking about Chinese opera. Number 2 is talking about Charlie Chaplin. Number 3 is talking about the puppets and also how they are made. So which paragraph? It is paragraph number 3. Okay, so the answer of the second question is paragraph number 3. Here we need to stop just a bit for a minute and think about it. In these two questions, did we dig in depth? Did we read for specific information, or we just read for general information? We only needed to read the general information, or to look at the general structure of these 4 paragraphs to identify the answers. So in these two questions, we skimmed the 4 paragraphs. We did the skimming skill, okay? We relied on skimming rather than scanning. So in these 2 ones, we skimmed the text, okay? Skimming, okay. But for the rest, I think that we will need to read more. Name the play Tawfiq al-Hakim wrote about the insect. So we know in which paragraph they talked about Tawfiq al-Hakim, the last one. Okay, so we will name a play, which is al-Masrahiyya, that he talked about an insect. Okay, so we will need to read the whole paragraph in order to name the play. He was born in Alexandria, Egypt, in 1898 and died in 1987. He went to school in Cairo and in Paris. When he returned from France, he worked for the Egyptian government in the city and the region. This helped him find out a lot about people in his country, which he used as ideas for some of his plays. Okay? He wrote his first play in French. One of his most popular plays is called The Fate of the Cockroach, which he wrote in 1967. This play tells the story of the king of the cockroach. The cockroach is an insect. So is it the answer? What is the name of the play? The Fate of the Cockroach. Okay, so this is the answer of the third question. The Fate of the cockroach. Okay, number 4. Why is the puppet held behind the screen in Wayang Kolit? Okay, we'll go to the paragraph which talks about the puppets. This one is talking about the puppets, and we will read in depth so that we'll be able to answer the question. So we are looking for a particular information here. Okay, the puppets are made from kolit, or the skin of an animal, which has been curved by the puppeteer or dalang. The dalang holds the puppet behind the screen. Okay, here it rang the bell. I have to read carefully. The dalang holds the puppet behind the screen. Why? Which is made of cloths stretched between two bamboo balls and in front of the coconut oil lamp or electric light. This helps cast the shadow. Okay, so this helps cast the shadow of the puppets as they are moved around by the dalang. So the answer is to what? To help or to make the shadow, or to help casting the shadow, I would say. Okay, to help casting. Cast means تسليط الضوء. Okay, casting the shadow, or casting the shadow means تسليط الظل. Okay, number 5. How old was Charlie Chaplin when he earned $10,000? In this sentence, okay, I need to go to the paragraph in which they are talking about Charlie Chaplin. Which one? Charlie Chaplin. Okay, Charlie Chaplin, where are you? This, number 2, Charlie Chaplin. The second paragraph is talking about Charlie Chaplin, and he mentioned a number. So I can look for the number from the text, and okay, this is the number, $10,000. By 1916, he was earning $10,000. But the question is, he didn't ask when did Charlie Chaplin earn $10,000. He asked how old was Charlie Chaplin when he earned $10,000. The person who wrote the question wanted to make it difficult for us. Okay, he didn't say, okay, if he said just when did Charlie Chaplin earn $10,000, I would say 1960. This will be the answer. But he is asking about the old. He's asking us about how old Charlie Chaplin was when he earned $10,000. So here we need to make a calculation. Okay, we need to make the best use of the calculator. Charlie Chaplin was built in 1889, and he earned the $10,000 in 1916. So what is the difference between these 2 years? The difference is, so he was born in 1889, and after how many years he earned $10,000? He earned $10,000 when he was 1916. So 1916 minus 1889. So the answer will be, yes, it will be, who is good at math? Which one is good at math? Or anyone has a calculator? 1916 minus 1889, the answer will be, yes, the answer will be 27. He was 27 years old. Okay, so this is the answer of the penultimate question. And the last question for today's lesson: how are stories in Chinese opera told? Directly we will go to the Chinese opera. Chinese opera is centuries old and brings together lots of different things into one performance. It tells stories through dialogues, music, mime, song, dance, acrobatics, and sword fighting. So all these are the forms that the Chinese opera use to tell a story. Okay, the answer will be dialogues, music, mime, song, dance, acrobatics, and sword fighting. I like the last one, sword fighting. And that was the answer of the fifth question, I mean. Or no, the sixth question, the last question. And also that was the end of today's lesson. But before that, I would like you to match between these four pictures with the paragraphs. This one is, who can tell me what is, okay, who is this? This is Charlie Chaplin. So number A would go for, which one is talking about Charlie Chaplin? Number 2. So number A would go for number 2. Okay. And number B, the cockroach. Who talked about the cockroach, or who wrote about the cockroach? Yes, Tawfiq al-Hakim, which is number 4. And this is about the puppets. In which paragraph they talked about the puppets? Yes, number 3. And the last one, which is about the Chinese opera, which is number 1. Okay, that was the end of today's lesson. I think that you enjoyed the lesson and learned from the lesson as well. In this lesson, we learned, or we identified the difference between skimming and scanning. Put it in your mind. Curve it in your mind. There is a difference between them. Skimming is when you look for general information, when you want to gain an overview about the text. While scanning, when you want to read in details, when you're looking for a specific information, a particular information, just scan the lesson, scan the text. You have to read in details. You have to read in minute details. Okay, that was about the skimming and the scanning. We identified the difference between them, and then we did an activity in which we answered 6 questions. The first 2 questions were or needed skimming skill, whereas for the rest of the questions they needed scanning skills. So because we were looking for specific information, we were looking for particular information. And the last part of today's lesson was matching these pictures with the 4 paragraphs. Thank you very much, and see you in the 3rd lesson of this unit. Goodbye.